The rain had been falling since dusk, soft at first, then harder as the night dragged on, until it seemed like the sky itself was weary of holding anything back. The streets glistened beneath the glow of passing headlights, puddles trembling under the weight of steady drops. Jennifer Grant kept both hands firmly on the steering wheel, fingers stiff, knuckles pale. She'd been driving since 8 o'clock, the ride-share app pinging her from one end of the city to the other. Each stop was another handful of coins toward rent, another carton of milk for the fridge, another toy dinosaur for Lucas if she could spare the change. The clock on the dashboard ticked past midnight. She told herself she'd do one more ride, just one, then go home. But one more had been her promise an hour ago, too. She checked the app, and before she could talk herself out of it, a request blinked across her phone screen. Priority pickup, Astra Grand Hotel. High-end, high-tip, she thought. She pressed accept. Jennifer lived in a world that often felt too small, too pressed at the edges. The diner shifts, the graveyard drives, the constant balancing act of bills and schedules, it all revolved around Lucas. Her 5-year-old son with eyes too bright and questions too big for their small apartment. He was her reason, her tether. Every ache in her back, every extra hour she drove, it was all for him. She pulled into the circular drive of the Astra Grand. The hotel gleamed like a palace carved into the rainy night, gold lights spilling over marble and glass. Well-dressed guests lingered under umbrellas, laughter bouncing off the stone as valets rushed about. Jennifer scanned the crowd and spotted him, standing alone, slightly apart. A man in a tailored black suit, bow tie undone, damp hair plastered against his forehead. He held a glass in his hand, though it was nearly empty, and stared at the pavement as though it had betrayed him. She rolled down her window, voice carrying over the rain. "Are you Logan?" He lifted his head, eyes rimmed red, exhaustion lining his features. Without answering, he opened the door and slid into the back seat. The smell of whiskey lingered faintly. "I just want to go home," he muttered, voice low, almost hoarse. "Sure thing." She tapped the app. The address loaded automatically, a gated estate in the hills. She'd never driven there before. She tried not to think about how different their worlds were, not while rain poured down hard enough to blur the windshield. For a while they rode in silence, the city lights streaking across the windows. His reflection looked polished, expensive, yet strangely hollow. Then his voice broke the quiet. "Do you ever feel like everyone's pretending?" he asked, his gaze fixed on the watery streets rushing by. "Like no one really cares unless there's something in it for them?" Jennifer flicked her eyes to the rearview mirror. His voice carried the weight of more than whiskey, more than you'd think. He waited, so she went on. "I drive strangers all night. Most barely look at me, but I keep showing up. My kid needs the lights on. That's the truth." "What's his name?" he asked. "Lucas. He's 5. He repeated the name softly as though testing it. "That's a good age. Kids still believe in good things." "They do," she said, a smile tugging faintly at her lips. "I'm trying to keep it that way for as long as I can." He leaned his head against the glass, eyes heavy. "Must be nice, being needed just for who you are." Jennifer glanced at him again, studying the sharp edges of his jaw, the undone tie, the look of a man who had everything, yet seemed to find no peace in any of it. To her, he wasn't a CEO or a millionaire. She didn't even know his last name. He was just another man fighting his way through the night. By the time they reached the gates of a sleek glass and stone mansion tucked high into the hills, he was fast asleep. His head tilted to the side, mouth slightly parted, one hand resting loosely across his lap. Jennifer hesitated. "Wake him? Leave him?" Something in her chest softened. She reached behind her seat, grabbed the faded denim jacket she always kept in case the heater failed, and laid it gently across his chest. Then she stepped into the rain, shivering as drops soaked through her sleeves, and pressed the intercom. A voice crackled. "Yes? I brought Mr. Reed home. He's asleep in the car. Could someone come get him?" "Right away." Moments later, a uniformed man jogged down the driveway with an umbrella. Together, they coaxed Logan from the car, Jennifer steadying him until he leaned against the man. "He's fine," she said. "Just tired." The man nodded, guiding Logan up the path toward the warm glow of the house. Jennifer slid back into the driver's seat, jacketless, rain dripping down her arms. She drove away without another word, never asking who he was or what empire he ran. To her, he'd simply been a passenger who needed to get home. When Logan Reed woke the next morning, his head throbbed. The last thing he remembered was noise, the gala, the empty laughter, the clink of champagne glasses. But when he sat up in bed, what caught his attention wasn't the pain in his skull, but the jacket folded neatly on a bench. Not his. Next to it, a note on torn notepaper. "I brought you home safely. No extra charge. Sleep well, Jennifer G." He stared at the words longer than he expected. People who saw him weak usually wanted something: leverage, a favor, a foothold. This woman had left nothing but kindness, her name signed like a whisper. By noon, curiosity outweighed caution. He asked Daniel, his assistant, to track her down. Within an hour, he was standing outside a modest diner that smelled of coffee, bacon, and grease soaked deep into old tiles. The rain had slowed to a mist. Through the window, he saw her. Blonde hair tucked under a visor, apron tied snug, moving quickly between tables with a tray of mugs. When she turned and caught sight of him, she froze mid-step. He smiled faintly. "Hi, hope I'm not interrupting." "You're the guy from the hotel," she said carefully. "Logan Reed," he confirmed. "I wanted to thank you for getting me home, and for the note, and this." He held up the jacket. "I figured you'd want it back. I don't usually leave notes, but you looked like someone who needed a little kindness." Daniel took a seat at the far end, giving them space. Logan leaned casually on the counter. "Would you let me take you to lunch?" "As a real thank you?" She shook her head gently, drying her hands on her apron. "Thanks, but I can't. I've got to pick up my son from school at 1. He glanced at his watch. "It's only 11:30. I still have to finish my shift, get home, change, and cross town. And they're strict about pickup times." Her tone wasn't apologetic, just matter of fact. "You'd turn down lunch with a millionaire CEO to pick up a 5-year-old? He asked, half amused. "I'd turn down lunch with the president if it meant being late for Lucas," she replied. For the first time in a long while, Logan laughed. Not the polite kind he gave investors, but something real, sharp with surprise. "That's rare. Most people would have pretended to consider it. I don't have the luxury of pretending. Not when it comes to him." He looked at her differently then. Not as an employee, not as a stranger who'd driven him home, but as a woman who lived without masks. "You're not like the others I've known," he said softly. She smiled faintly. "That's probably a good thing." He nodded, then straightened. "I'll bring this back another time." She didn't stop him. But when the door closed behind him, she stayed still for a long while, holding the tray in her hand, heart unsteady in her chest. Something unexpected had just stepped into her life. From that night forward, Logan began to request rides more often than necessary. Sometimes across town, sometimes nowhere at all, just a quiet drive around the city. More often than not, Jennifer's car pulled up. She never asked why. She simply drove. And in the quiet of those rides, something fragile but steady began to take shape. One rainy evening, she told him her story at a red light. Her voice steady, unadorned. "He left when I was 7 months pregnant. Said he couldn't do it. Said he wasn't ready to be a dad. I came home from work and half the apartment was gone." "You were still working that far along?" Logan asked quietly. "Rent doesn't care if your heart's broken," she replied. He didn't respond, only listened. "And you?" she asked another night. "What about you, Mr. CEO? Big house, helicopter, all that. What don't you have?" He chuckled dryly. "People I trust. My best friend tried to sell out the company. 6 years gone in a handshake. My parents only call when they need photos for their charities. They don't care how I'm doing, just that I look successful." Jennifer gave a quiet nod. "That's worse than not having a chef." He looked at her then, and something shifted. It was Lucas's fever that changed everything. The daycare called, her hands shaking as she answered while Logan sat in the back seat. She told him she had to get to her son. She couldn't take another ride. "Go," he said instantly. "I'll come with you." And he did. He drove them to the hospital, carried Lucas into the ER, and sat in the waiting room for 4 long hours, denim jacket folded neatly across his lap. When Jennifer emerged, exhausted but relieved, she saw him still there. "You stayed," she whispered. "Of course I did. No one's ever done that before. Now someone has. But the world never let them stay quiet." A blurry photo appeared online the next day. Logan Reed leaving the hospital with Jennifer and Lucas. The tabloids spun stories: gold digger, secret family, nanny. Jennifer's stomach turned as whispers followed her at work. Logan tried to fix it. He offered her a position as his personal driver, safe, steady, with pay that could erase her worries. She resisted at first, her pride sharp. "I can't take money because you feel sorry for me." He shook his head. "Do you think this is pity?" "Jennifer, I don't want to rescue you. I want to work with you. I trust you. Do you know how rare that is?" His words broke something open inside her. No one had asked her what she wanted in a long time. She said yes. Weeks passed. She drove him to meetings, stood outside boardrooms, became part of his world. People began to notice her, not as background, but as someone steady, someone sharp. Logan relied on her more than he realized, but comfort made him careless. One day, during a meeting, careless laughter drifted into the hall. She heard it. "So Logan, is the blonde your latest innovation? Mixing business with pleasure?" Laughter followed. Jennifer froze. When the meeting ended, she said nothing. The next morning, she was gone. Logan searched, desperate, until he finally found himself standing at her apartment door, rain dripping from his coat. She opened it just enough to see him. "What are you doing here?" "I needed to see you." "You left without saying anything." She folded her arms. "What would you have wanted me to say?" "I'm sorry about the meeting." "About what they said?" "I didn't leave because of what they said. I left because of what you didn't." His chest tightened. "I didn't hear it in time. I didn't need you to defend me." "Logan, I just needed to know I mattered to you outside of your schedule." Silence stretched between them. "I've spent too long being someone's afterthought," she said softly. "Someone's pity project. I fought too hard to stand on my own." "I don't need rescuing," he swallowed. "I didn't come to rescue you. I came because I miss you. Because I made a mistake. Because I need you. Not out of loneliness, but because when you're not here, it feels like the noise comes back. And with you, it's quiet. Real." Her eyes softened, though her guard stayed firm. "I don't want to be a mistake," she whispered. "You're not. You never were." For a long moment, neither moved. The rain pattered steady around them, the world holding its breath. And for the first time, Jennifer let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, someone truly saw her, not as a driver, not as a waitress, not as a burden, but as the woman she was, and the one she could still become. And in that moment, Logan Reed realized he wasn't falling anymore. He had already fallen,